Hey guys, Wolvie here and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer, any opinion here is mine and mine alone. Now this is going to be a two recording session for one video. And this is my movie review of Deadpool and Wolverine. I actually saw this twice on the same day. Don't ask how I was able to pull it off, because when there is a will, there's a way. That's the only thing I'm saying about it. Now, regarding a two recording session, I actually had to pause here on purpose because I thought there was gonna be another playing flow, like this could be make it kind of. Okay, so I actually had to pause there for a little bit longer than expected, because in the Chicago area there is the Air and Water Show. It sounds like it's this weekend, so I wanted to make sure when I talk, you don't hear that while I'm talking. But anyway, so this is a super. This is a two recording session video. So this first part is going to be like varying aspects about the movie, character spoilers in the sense of like which character makes an appearance. I'm not doing plot spoilers because that'd be stupid. So the second part of this video is going to be talking about some controversies tied to three of the major cinema chains in the US, being AMC, Regal, and Cinemark. So, and that is a bit of a standalone. So with the controversies at the end of that section of the video will be my final scores. And for those of you who know how I do things, I do two scores. The first score is going to be the intended audience score. The second score is going to be my personal score. This will usually differ in varying ways for any reason you could think of. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to jump right into this without further delay. So for the length of the movie, it's a little north of 2 hours. And genre-wise is action comedy. We'll address this a little, the genre aspect in a little bit. The two main characters being Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. Hugh Jackman comes back as Wolverine. Now, some people are viewing this as the introduction of Deadpool and Wolverine to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, aka the MCU, which could throw some people by surprise in the sense of like they already like part of the MCU in its own way, meaning that they're their own movies. And I mean, it's a little surprising that way, but it is what it is. Now, regarding certain aspects of the movie itself, now at the end there is a couple of like scenes. There's one at the mid-credits scene, and there's also one at the after the credits. So it's one of the things that you may want to stick around to see both of them. So that way you can develop your own opinion. Excuse me. Now, so that's on that. So regarding the film itself, some people do feel it is a fan service. So when it comes to that sort of thing, I'll address it in the after I address the controversies in that second part of the video. The plot, I mean, again, I'll go into the overall plot on that, you know, like in that other half. Now, this is a team-up film, but I don't feel it's the first proper team-up film, because if you look at Wolverine Origins, that's where Deadpool first appeared in any capacity. Now, the cast here is a bit of an all-star cast, so there are some characters that are coming back to reprise roles, and there's one particular character where it's like you've seen them before in one film, but Deadpool Wolverine is the first time you've seen them in action. So, that's down that. I'm looking at my notes. I do have my notebook here. No pun intended. And for those of you who are wondering about the book, I know I got this one from a buddy of mine in the UK. She's the one that's responsible for me keeping notes for for a good chunk of my YouTube videos, which I am beyond grateful for, by the way. So that's down there. I'm looking at my notes, so don't mind me. I don't even know why I'm biting my inner cheek. I mean, it's just a bizarre habit I have had. I'm looking at my stuff here. So, for the reviews that have come up for this movie, like before my video, it's been kind of mixed from what I've gathered. I mean, mostly in favor. Some people were like, not really feeling it so much. I mean, for their own reasoning, which I respect. The plot felt kind of scattered. I mean, you get the gist. I'm going to check my time here real quick because I do want to start getting ready for work pretty soon. I mean, I do have to put in my contacts and all that. So, on that note, I mean, I'm going to try to keep this like within 20 minutes or so, just to get like a good feel. So one of the characters, again, like I said, I will spoil characters, but not the plot. So, the character where it's like we've seen him in a previous movie, but Deadpool Wolverine being the first you see them in action, like beyond that previous like movie, is Gambit. So Gambit makes a debut in the format of the person showing off what they can do. So that's characters. So when it comes to characters coming back to reprise roles, thank goodness there was no number on the screen. So I'm gonna give off what I can remember since I like characters who were like coming back for their roles, not necessarily the people who portray them. So one person was from the Fantastic Four, the Human Torch. So that person comes back. Now another character I think makes a return, like in this, like in some way, is Pyro. That's a person from the X-Men. Gambit is an X-Men like from that universe. So Gambit and Pyro, where it's like they make their appearances known. I mean, with Gambit, it's like the first time you've seen him in action. And then Pyro, I think he was in a previous X-Men movie, so that character makes a comeback. Another character that makes a comeback in some ways, like I would say a couple others, I should say, would be Sabretooth and Toad. Now, a character that makes a comeback in the sense of like what she does, and in a way, I feel that she has the same thing with Gambit. It's like you see her for the first time, but in a separate movie, you see what she could do, and that's X-23, that sort of thing. Now, two other characters besides the Human Torch, they make their comeback in their role, would be Elektra and Blade. And it's quite well done in that regards. Now, somebody that makes their entire debut in the sense of like, I don't think we've really seen this person before. And I think this is one of the more recent, I think, so feel free to go in the comments section to correct me if I'm wrong. So there's an entirely new character, I would say more recent character from the X-Men universe coming in, and that's Cassandra Nova. I mean, I've never really heard of this person before. So we get to see it's pretty much the first. So that's a bit of that's that on that. I'm going to check the time real quick. So, again, you know, I mean, I just, like, right now I'm trying to formulate a certain degree of words in the sense of, like, what I want to say about the movie before the second recording session, where I do need to dive in the controversies and how I feel this could affect certain cinema branches, like going forward, if it's not addressed in enough time. I actually had to pause here just now because it's like I didn't know there was going to be another plane coming around. So, when it comes to the the only thing I could say, like, for, like, what I think about the film before I go into the controversies, all that stuff, is that I felt the execution of the plot wasn't all there. I mean, I partially feel that it felt more like a parody, and genre-wise, it felt kind of misleading. And when it comes down to the controversies and all that stuff, I want to explain that why more, in a sense of more detail in the controversy section, because it's like, yeah. And I felt there were a couple of lines where I felt it was more like being all PC, and by that, politically correct. So it's like, yeah. But this is like, so this is like the second time Deadpool and Wolverine teamed up in any capacity. In this particular case, it was like they're working together, and then you look at the previous iteration in the Wolverine origin story, it's like, yeah, it's a little bit more surprising in that regard. So on that, the only thing I have for a question, and this is before I do cut off the recording because I do need to get ready for work, is, will this team-up movie be the end of the Deadpool movies, or will we see, like, one more Deadpool movie proper? So there's a bit of it's a bit on that. So on that, so when I do come back, I will address the controversies tied to the varying U.S. cinema chains in more detail, give more of an explanation as to why you know, I feel the way that I do about certain aspects of the movie. So I don't know if it's going to be later on tonight or tomorrow, but I'll be back with the other half of the movie review. Now I am back, and this is Friday. The first half of this particular review was done, I think yesterday or the day before. So a few things I do want to mention here in this section because it deserves its own section. And the end of this section will be my scores, the intended score and my personal score. A bit of a spoiler about the scoring here for this video. My personal score will be coming first, because there's a very specific reason why. And when I get to it, I'll get to it. And this half are the controversies tied to this movie in regards to the varying cinema chains here in the U.S. Controversy number one, and this is tied to Regal. Now, I'm not so sure how it was on the other Regal locations, but I am seeing this from the Regal that I live the closest to. And you guys might want to buckle up on this one because it can be pretty darn angry for the most part. Now, during opening weekend, as long as you were seeing this in IMAX, you're supposed to be given a collectible ticket. And it's while supplies last, so you have to see this in IMAX to get the collectible ticket, which looks like this. See here. And so it looks like that. Now, the reason why it is a controversy in itself, because, again, with the one that I live closest to, they supposedly ran out of this particular ticket. I had to become a bit of a Karen here, just to make sure that they fulfill their word on this. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other moviegoers for the IMAX room at the Regal near me were about to experience the same thing. Now, I do want to address here that pertaining to both the AMC, that I saw beforehand, that last Saturday, the first Saturday, I should say. So AMC and Regal the crowds were solid, but it was not sold out. And I'm not 100% sure as to why, but that's really none of my concern at this point. So, controversy number one, the Regal near me almost did not fulfill this promise, which is clearly advertised. I took a screenshot of this just that way I could get the word out. So, and sometimes it's always a good idea to actually make sure cinemas do their job, fulfill their word. Now this is controversy number two. I'm actually in my kitchen. That's because I am doing some degree of meal prep for my little lunch at work. So you may not be able to catch it, but I'm just getting some, I'm making the corn real quick, and I'm got everything else done. So this is controversy number two, and it's time to, believe it or not, the varying buckets that AMC, Cinemark, and Regal were in fact selling. Now, I made the post right here, and you have to pay close attention to the timestamp. Now, I did a little bit of digging before I made the post, so it's like, so it's one of those things you have to keep into consideration. And to be a bit more specific here, the post was made 2 days before the movie came out. Meaning that people were already putting this on eBay, and then I know later on Mercari about the buckets. And AMC, Regal, and Cinemark chose not to say or really do anything about it out of the gate. And I say this because we're talking about a potential violation of a non-disclosure agreement. The reason why I use the word potential, because we don't have any confirmation of any type as to whether or not a non-disclosure agreement violation actually occurred. Now, I do want to mention here that I took one for the team, and bought one of these from eBay, the AMC bucket, which is right here. So I took one for the team. I bought this from eBay. I did take one for the team regarding this one, the Deadpool one from Regal. I bought this off of Mercari. And I'm just trying to raise awareness of the fact that you're talking about scalping practices. If AMC, Regal, and Cinemark say nothing about it, in my opinion, it's showing that they support that practice. In the age of artificial intelligence, or AI for short, taking over people's jobs in an increasing number of industries, there will likely become a time where no one's going to be able to afford it. And scalpers will probably have nothing to move, and will also be unable to buy it as well. And what places like AMC, Regal, and Cinemark really need to do is to put very strict limitations on how many people can buy. Because the longer stuff like this goes on, the longer, and I don't want to be to say this, the more likely people will want to support the local cinemas instead of the chains. And it's something I don't think Regal, AMC, and Cinemark can really afford. Granted, they're corporations, but how long will that reputation of being a corporation last if no one's going to their cinemas, buying stuff from their concession stands, going to the movies at their locations? There's always going to be a limit of sorts. Now, regarding the Cinemark helmet, I am not getting it. It's not so much because of space limitations in the apartment, because the apartment is small, but it's more so it's just like I'm not really feeling it. I mean, to each his own. I will add here, though, that AMC and Regal, in a way, stepped up, in a sense, by putting some of those buckets that you've seen earlier on their website to get it from them that way. But I honestly feel that is a simple case of too little too late. because AMC, and you really have to pay close attention to some social media sites because some people may post it in some places, but not all of them, is that AMC actually had the Wolverine buckets on sale at San Diego Comic-Con, which is really, really, really bad for a move on AMC's end. And the fact that there was one weekend where AMC had a bracelet where it's like, as long as you watch it in IMAX, it's like, I replied to that, I'm like, thanks, but no thanks. It's like, you guys kind of screwed up. And that's how I feel about this, because it's like, if you're not addressing the things that need to be addressed, it's like, why were people allowed to buy multiples of some things and reselling it on eBay and Mercari, and then they're not addressing the stuff that's been on eBay since before the movie came out? There's something that AMC really needs to address here, and pretty soon. Same thing for Regal, same thing for Cinema. Because for me personally, I'm starting to feel more inclined to support the local cinema chain. I mean, I don't live far from one. And now I'm less inclined as a result of supporting AMC, Regal, and Cinemark because of this. Now I'm going to check the time here because I do need to get ready for work. Regarding the scores, again, I'm putting my personal score up first, and that is an 8 out of 10. Now, the controversies here are a reason why, and that's in the sense of if you're not putting restrictions on certain things, like how many of whatever people can buy, and you're not saying anything about things being posted on eBay, Mercari before the movie comes out, and allowing the scalper practice to go on, it's just like, I can't help but ask, it's like, do you want people to go broke because people are scalping things? So, but again, that's all reason why my score is an 8 out of 10, but not the main reason. The main reason why it's an 8 out of 10, while it's a solid movie, it's really good all around, but the genre aspect felt a little misleading because it felt more like a comedy than an action film. And I'm not so sure if this was a good way to introduce these two characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, considering you have these two already having movies of their own way ahead of time. And I fear that Disney, who owns Marvel, is going to kidify Deadpool. And I may not be feeling it as much. Now for the intended audience score, and I feel this may come down to controversy, something being misled, all that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Because it's one of those, this is one of those rare instances where it's like, a lot of it is good, but there's some degree of misleading in the genre. And it's just like, somebody felt like Wolverine was barely in it at all. It's just not really, it's like, yeah. And the fact that it wasn't sold out, just like, it was overhyped. And it really didn't execute as well. And then another reason why for both scores, I feel that parts of the plot just felt kind of scattered. And the execution just wasn't there at some points. And that's all I have for this particular movie review. So the like I said, when I can get around to like finalizing my thoughts, I will provide the spoiler version of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That's the prequel, and that's it on that. But I think the next video after this and the 3-parter for something I read and stuff that I want to try my hand at. So after all that's like sorted out and posted, the next video is most likely going to be the announcement of the 5th Hunger Games book, which is a second prequel story. I'm going to be addressing that, and yeah, I'm going to be really late to that, but just like with work being work, I just want to make sure I'm in a sound, clear mind doing that video. And that's all I have here. With Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.